I just started reading a great book, which I am really enjoying, Crying in H-Mart. This was recommended to me by a friend who, unfortunately, a year ago lost her mom. And this month is the 1-year anniversary of her mom passing away, and she mentioned reading this book and feeling like it was a wonderful thing to be reading at this time in her life, and suggested that I do the same. So I picked up a copy, and I absolutely love it. There's so much in here about the author's connection to her Korean heritage and her mom really nurturing that and giving that to her, which I relate to with my Sri Lankan heritage and my own mother. And there was a line early on in here about the author regretting that she wasn't able to do certain things for her mom while she was alive. And it made me think about my own experience with that feeling of regret. I think when we lose loved ones, it's very common to have feelings of regret, of not saying certain things or doing certain things. But I had a little bit of a gift, an underhanded gift, I would say, a gift that was coupled with fear, and it was a dream. The gift was in the form of a dream. Years ago, I think in 2005, so 20 years ago, when I traveled to India by myself, I was taking anti-malaria tablets, and the side effects of those tablets were vivid dreams. So there was a night that I went to sleep, and I had this dream that my sisters and I were sort of crouched at the top of the stairs, and we were listening to my dad whisper to a relative, and my dad said she passed away, and we knew that he was talking about my mom. And I had this terrible feeling of the floor just disappearing from under me, and I was falling, and then I woke up. And then in the morning I found a phone booth, and I called my mom to make sure she was okay. But that dream was an indication of how I would feel if/when my mom passed away. And unfortunately, that day did come many years later, but it did come. But in between that dream and when my mom did pass away, I treated her in a way that was a sort of an interaction that would allow me to not have regrets later. And after she passed away, although it still is very sad to me and very difficult to think about her not being here, I don't have that feeling of I wish I would have done blank for her while she was alive, because I did do those things. When she would come to visit me in New York, I would not allow her to do any work. I would sleep on the couch. I would make up my bed. I would put flowers in the room. I would cook for her every morning. I would take her to a different coffee shop, sometimes the same coffee shop, but I wanted to show her all the different coffee shops, and I would buy her a latte and never let her spend her own money, although she just insisted and sometimes would sneakily do it herself, pay for things. And every time she came and visited me, when we would have a latte in the morning, that was the highlight of her trip. She would say, "This is what I look forward to when I'm going to work and I can't wait to go to New York, sitting and having a latte in New York." And there were many other things that I did. I bought her things when I could. When I had the money and I could splurge, I would buy things that she would never buy for herself. And she would protest, but I would just do it. But beyond buying things for a parent, I think it's the physical act of doing something that can be a gift to them. If you have parents that love you, and unfortunately there are many people out there who are estranged from their parents. I was estranged from my father. I had no relationship with him in my adult life, and I have no regrets about that or remorse about that. But for the parents that love us and care for us, and the parents that we love back, I think sometimes it's easy to become complacent with their generosity and their willingness to do anything for their kids. I would visit my mom in Toronto, and she would just dote over me. She would pick me up from the train station or the airport and drive me home, and then drive me downtown. If there was anything I ever needed, she would pick it up and make sure that it was packed in my suitcase for when I came back to New York. She was just tireless in her acts of affection for her kids. And with the food, she would make these very complicated, labor-intensive meals just for me because she knew I was coming home. Even to the point of it being annoying. Like, I remember once I was taking a nap, and she woke me up, and when I came to, she whispered, "Darling, are you hungry?" And I just snapped at her. I was like, "Mom, I'm sleeping. Why would I be hungry while I'm sleeping?" But that was because she loved me so much. And I knew that. And any opportunity that I recognized where I could do something, like if the sink was full of dishes, I would wash them, and she would insist on me going and sitting down. "You don't have to do that." But I would just do them. And when I was at home and I could wash the floors, I would wash the floors. And when she came here, I just really treated her in a way that showed her that I appreciated everything that she did. And that is something that I've recognized as being a very valuable thing to identify while your parents are alive. If the transaction works according to the way a parent would like, because I think every parent that loves their child wishes and prays that they don't lose their children before they pass away. If that works, then that means that there will be a day when your parents will pass away. And if I'm speaking to the people whose parents are still alive, if your parents are still alive, recognize that there are things that you could do to just give back, especially your moms. I speak about mothers because that's the relationship, that's the only really real relationship that I had. I didn't have a relationship with my dad, but for those of you that have a relationship with your dad, maybe just your dad, or your mom and your dad, this is applicable to both. Give back. Give back when you can, when you recognize that there's a way to give back. And as I said, it doesn't have to be buying them something, or it doesn't have to be lavish, although it can. Take them on a trip, pay for everything, set aside some money, save, pay for a trip, pay for the airfare, pay for the hotel, whatever. Like if you can do that, go all out. And when I was able to, that is what I did with my mom. I just did it, and I didn't overthink it. And I'm so glad that I did. Parents love to see their kids, especially when their kids don't live close to them. So if you can, travel to see your parents, even though it's annoying. Sometimes your parents don't want to come to you, or they can't come to you. It's okay. Suck it up. Go see them, because that in itself is a gift. Just being there with them is a gift. And my mom used to say sometimes when we would argue, because we did argue, the relationship wasn't perfect for decades. Sometimes when we were going back and forth arguing, she would say, when I'm gone, you'll cry. And I think I would think, yeah, of course I'll cry, but that doesn't diminish what we're talking about right here, so don't use that against me. But she was right. When they're gone, you will cry. And you can think about that now, while your parents are still alive. You can think about the days when they won't be there with you, and not in a morbid way. I'm telling you to think about it because you can think about it and you can use it. You can actually use it to fix something that's broken at their house, to do the laundry for them, to wash the dishes in the sink, to put the dishes away, to cook a meal, to go there, and although they will probably want to cook every meal for you, you cook the meal. Or to surprise them with something that they love, that they wouldn't expect. Cut flowers, maybe. Cut flowers it's just a classic. Cut an extravagant bouquet of cut flowers. Whatever it is, do it. Do it while they're alive. When I was reading this book, I was reminded of another book, a much more serious book that I love, that really changed my life. It's Virginia Woolf, A Room of One's Own. And it speaks to, it was written at the time when women's professions were very limited, specifically women going into the workplace, but not really having the opportunity to leave any kind of mark on society with their work, other than writing. And that's what Virginia is talking about here, that in 1920 or whenever this was written, there weren't very many professions where a woman could really work and be something that would go down in history. That's what she says in here. And she talks about the ancient professions of women. So I'll read you a little bit of this. However, the majority of women are neither harlots nor courtesans, nor do they sit clasping pug dogs to dusty velvet all through the summer afternoon. But what do they do then? And there came to my mind's eye one of those long streets somewhere south of the river whose infinite rows are innumerably populated. With the eye of the imagination, I saw a very ancient lady crossing the street on the arm of a middle-aged woman, her daughter perhaps, both so respectably booted and furred that their dressing in the afternoon must be a ritual, and the clothes themselves put away in cupboards with camphor year after year throughout the summer months. They cross the road when the lamps are being lit, for the dusk is their favorite hour, and they must have done that year after year. The elder is close on 80, but if one asked her what her life meant to her, she would say that she remembered the streets being lit for the Battle of Balaclava, or had heard the guns fire in Hyde Park for the birth of King Edward VII. And if one asked her, longing to pin down the moment with the date and the season, but what were you doing on the 5th of April, 1868, or the 2nd of November, 1875, she would look vague and say that she could remember nothing. For all the dinners are cooked, all the plates and cups washed, the children set to school and gone out into the world. Nothing remains of it all. All has vanished. No biography or history has a word to say about it. And the novels, without meaning to, inevitably lie. All the dinners cooked, the plates and cups washed, the children set to school and gone out into the world. Nothing remains of it all. I read that and I just saw my mom. I saw my mom slaving away at the stove, late into the night, early in the morning. I saw her at the sink washing the plates and the cups and putting them away. I saw her sending us off to school. And Virginia's right. Nothing remains of it at all. And that really is my prompt. Think and envision all of the work that has gone into your upbringing by your parents, and give something back while you can.